Okay, we'll get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. My name is Brenda Palmer, and I chair the Sports and Recreation Committee. On May 14th, 2013, it was requested of me to get together a subcommittee to investigate the possibilities of Pecan building a fitness center. With this in mind, I went to the columns and I requested anyone that had knowledge of the fitness industry to please give me a call, and luckily I got many wonderful committee members. And Lorraine McKay is the chair of this subcommittee, and I would now like to turn it over to Lorraine.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. It's very nice to see that there's a lot of interest about this project, and we appreciate your attendance. Before we start, I'd like to introduce the members of the Fitness Committee to you. They are Brenda Palmer, Bob Kamen, John Collins, Jimmy DeLaGaza, Eric DeLaGaza, Martha Savage, Tracy Seago, Mike White, John Milburn, and Keith Casterlin. Our meeting tonight is the first of 3 town hall gatherings. We will hold 2 more in January and February before voting at our general election in March. Our presentation tonight of a new activity and wellness facility is to provide you with a complete and clear understanding of what the proposed fitness center will cost, how it will be funded, and what it will look like, so that in March you can make a truly clear and informed decision about your vote. Please hold all of your questions to the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. We will start by answering your written questions and then allow time for individuals to come up to the microphone to ask questions. Please tell us your name before speaking. In the interest of having time to hear from everyone, we ask that you keep your questions as brief as possible. If necessary, I will monitor the time spent on each question and answer, and when necessary, request that we move on. We have a microphone set up in the front of the room to my left. Now, before we get started, I want to make a personal comment. This is the first time Pecan has engaged in a discussion of a new amenity of this magnitude. Whether you are supportive or not of building this fitness center, I want you all to know that this committee has done a hell of a job. 3 years in the making and countless hours of work, their knowledge and expertise has brought invaluable skills to this project, and I would like you to join me in thanking them for their efforts. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn this over to Jimmy so that he can give you the presentation.
Lorraine? I'd also like to take a quick moment to acknowledge the Long Range Planning Committee. Dan Kreis and Tom Bazone and the other members have really given us a strong foundation of information to stand on and further develop this concept. We'll begin by taking a quick overview of what we're going to be discussing. We'll be going over the background of the amenity, or the background of this project as a whole. Sorry, please over. The community desire, the project that's been proposed. We'll also discuss the equipment, the cost and benefits, and we'll conclude with question and answer session. Since 1970, Pecan Plantation has grown to approximately 3,200 residential lots, with a population of over 7,000. Its original amenities included the clubhouse and grounds, golf course, the tennis courts, skeet range, landing strips, the stables, a portion of the marina facility, and an entrance facilities. And in 1972, the developer formed the Pecan Plantations Owners Association and the Pecan Plantation Country Club. Over the years, the existing amenities have been expanded and new amenities have been added, as a result of agreements with the developers. In exchange for the right to expand the maximum number of buildable lots from 3,000, as defined in the original turnover agreements, to 4,500 in the Lenmo agreements and its subsequent amendments, the developers agreed to provide additional land and construct the following amenities: an outdoor sports complex consisting of a soccer field, softball diamond, and concrete walking trail, which is the trail around the pack, a lap swimming pool, a community building or gym, which is of course now known as the pack, playgrounds, and an equestrian trail and horse pasture. An archery range, a riverfront walking path, 2 additional tennis courts, a dog park, a campground pavilion have been added in recent years, as has a second airstrip as part of the Landing subdivision. Our committee represents the culmination of work and efforts started by the community itself over 5 years ago. Many dozens of individuals and members of this community have donated thousands of hours since then to help this effort become a realistic possibility. In 2012, a member survey indicated that a fitness center was the new amenity most desired by membership. In response to the results of that survey, the Sports and Recreation Committee formed an ad hoc subcommittee to investigate and further study the feasibility, logistics, and costs of providing a fitness center to the community. The findings and recommendations proposed by this subcommittee were presented to the Long Range Planning Committee in 2014 for further review and evaluation. Accordingly, the Long Range Planning Committee undertook the development of a detailed financial analysis for both the capital expenditures and operational costs needed for providing a fitness center. And this analysis was included in the annual Long Range Planning Report that was presented to the Board of Directors on May 1st of 2015. One of the recommendations made by the 2015 Long Range Planning Committee was for the Board of Directors to authorize the engagement of a professional independent consultant to design, implement, and administer a survey of PPOA members to determine their prioritized preferences and willingness to financially support the new amenity evaluated in the previous year's report. So in 2015, a marketing survey company was engaged and the survey was taken. Of course, one might ask why we're making assumptions based on a poll that had limited response. But it's important to note that scientific polling organizations typically aim to survey 1,000 to 1,500 individuals of a population, because surveying more than that doesn't generally lead to a smaller margin of error for the entire population. The survey the outside research firm conducted for us had 1,296 responses, representing about 43% of the PPOA membership. This response rate was considered outstanding by the consultant and exceedingly well above when compared to market research standards. From this, we were able to draw that 47% indicated that they were in favor of the development of a new fitness center, and 14% were neutral. Since a much larger percentage was for the creation of the amenity than opposed to it, the decision was made to move forward with the detailed planning of the amenity so that a proposal could ultimately be offered to the community for a vote. Along with the survey were also options indicating 2 important additional decisions: how the amenity's construction would be funded and how the amenity's operations would be funded. The majority decision for these 2 options were use of the capital asset funds for construction and an assessment increase to fund operations. And it's based on these findings that we come to you this evening to explain our proposal for the new Pecan Activity and Wellness Center. Now, generally, the survey results demonstrated an increased focus on health and wellness by all segments of the membership, not just one particular demographic. And according to Consumer Real Estate Insight studies, generational demographics from Boomers, Gen X, and Gen Y groups all rank fitness centers within the top 4 selling points when considering amenities a community has to offer. In fact, many community alternatives to Pecan Plantation, such as Day Cordova Bend Estates, Robson Ranch, and Del Webb communities, have fitness centers. And while our PAC doesn't have fitness equipment, it is currently used for many sorts of activities that keep it constantly booked and at capacity. Our current PAC has multi-purpose rooms available for general use, such as wellness clinics, meetings, interest groups, activities, and the like, but the constant demand for space is limited, resulting in denied requests and prioritizations leading to alternate times being assigned for ongoing activities. The current PAC is undersized and at capacity, meaning there are many lost health and wellness opportunities. We're a growing community of over 7,000 residents with just over 3,000 memberships. And with a future capacity of 4,500 memberships, we expect that number to grow to 9,000 to 10,000 individuals. In the fiscal year of 2015, the PAC was utilized for a total of 3,400 hours. That averages out to about 11 hours a day. The Long Range Planning Committee found that according to census data, as well as our PPOA membership database, while much of our current membership is of a retirement age, Pecan remains a diverse community across all age groups. In addition, the increase in population, as you can see, while consisting of a large portion of adults over 65, remains a diverse mix of various age groups within our community. So to make the proposed amenity appealing to the broad spectrum of ages and interests in our community, the scope of services offered by the Pecan Activity and Wellness Center is broader than that of a basic fitness center. From community feedback and surveys, it was also determined that many PPOA members wanted on-site exercise equipment to use in their personally designed fitness programs. Members would also likely use such a facility if they had assistance with tailoring a program to accommodate physical limitations due to medical conditions and age. Others would benefit from dietary and lifestyle counseling and health assessment services to improve their overall well-being. And these factors are what led to the development of the current proposal, which includes the fitness component as well as the expanded functions and services that would appeal to that wider and diverse population. So now with an understanding of what the community specifically expressed interest in, we can get down to the details of what the facility has to offer. The size of the facility will be approximately 16,700 gross square feet, and around 7,700 of that will be available for a variety of cardio, weight, and general fitness equipment. The equipment will be state-of-the-art and under service contracts to ensure optimum performance. It will also be maintained according to its manufacturer's recommended lifetime for use and replacement as well. We will have an elevated indoor walking jogging track with rubber athletic flooring. This will be sizable enough to allow many members to use it at the same time and wide enough for several members to walk together. And approximately 18 laps will equal 1 mile. It will also have 2 general purpose classrooms for public use, each of which will seat approximately 20 to 30 persons in a classroom type setting, or can accommodate 15 or so individuals performing standard floor type exercise in an instructor-led scenario. It will also have men and women restrooms with shower facilities, which will be ADA compliant and have daily use lockers available as well. The main floor area will also have temporary storage for personal belongings during workouts. Currently, the concept plan includes an ADA compliant chairlift to help individuals who may be more physically impaired safely reach the second floor. However, we plan on exploring other options as well during the design phase. So where exactly will the facility be located? Well, here on the map you can see where we have the village here in the center, and the PAC right here is towards the bottom in the center. Now, if we were coming off of Plantation Drive and looking at the parking lot in front of the PAC, the new facility would be located behind into the rear on the right, stopping just short of the playgrounds. The new facility will also match the existing facade of the current PAC. As you can see here, we're looking at the facility from the perspective of the playgrounds. Here we're showing the first floor of the new proposed facility. And towards the bottom of these plans is the existing PAC. And the new facility is built attached to that structure so as to take advantage of the existing infrastructure and reduce costs. Access to the new facility will be controlled by a single point of entry, although there are, of course, additional emergency exits. The hallway, as many of you are familiar with, which currently resides to the, the hallway, which currently resides to the left of the PAC's reception desk and provides the main access for the current PAC's gymnasium, it will be extended to provide the main access to this facility as well. On the opposite side of where the existing women's and men's restrooms are located are where the new restrooms and showers are located. And on the wall outside those new facilities are the day use lockers. And finally, the main workout floor will be located here, with the central area being open to the floor above. On the second floor, you can see that we have 2 multi-purpose classrooms. And of course, the majority of the space on this floor is taken up by the walking track, with the central area being open to the lower floor. There's additional space around the edges and corners here as well for sitting or resting areas, or for yoga or stretching too. The equipment listed on the website currently is commercial-grade equipment designed to last a long time with regular use. It's not the final list by any means, and we will be soliciting community feedback so others can weigh in on what type of equipment may be more applicable to the community as a whole that we may not have yet listed. But it serves as a strong starting point, and it's what was used in the creation of the budget. Shown here are some of the machines we have listed for the cardio and endurance training. All of the equipment will, of course, be maintained with service contracts, and once the facility is created, the equipment will become part of the capital asset schedule, so that when it comes time to eventually replace the equipment, we will have planned accordingly. The life of the equipment, of course, varies from machine to machine, but we have balanced the expected use along with serviceable lifetime and cost to find equipment that will serve our growing community and expected final growth to 9,000 plus members. Here we see a sample rendering of the upper floor in the walking track area. Now, looking from the point of the view where the two multi-purpose rooms are behind and to the camera's right, and looking down toward the back end of the building, with the playground being on the opposite side of that far wall. And now, we're at the opposite end looking towards the two multi-purpose rooms on that far wall. Note that the rooms do not have windows so that privacy can be maintained during classes, activities, or instructor-led workouts. Here we are on the main floor looking across the workout area. We followed the American College of Sports and Medicine Guide to Fitness and Workout Planning to account for the total size of the facility as well as the amount of equipment it can support and how much room that equipment should have in relation to other equipment or nearby working areas. Now, the spacing in the sample rendering, while showing accurate equipment, is not showing the final layout or all of the equipment we plan on having. There are additional machines on our equipment list that are not yet shown here on the floor, plus a variety of other tools and equipment will be distributed in the surrounding areas, such as pull-up bars, workout balls, etc. Here you can see our preliminary schedule, which shows our conceptual timeline. Assuming that the facility was accepted in March, we'd begin construction immediately after that, starting with our design phase, followed by the construction bid and award process. At the beginning of 2018, we would expect to begin actually building the facility, and towards the end of 2018 is when we would expect the facility to be finished. Both the Long Range Planning Committee and the Fitness Center Committee have explored many financial aspects of the proposed project, including the initial capital costs, as well as the annual operating costs. With detailed analysis, we have created the following budget projections. The estimated cost to construct the project as currently planned will be approximately $1.8 million and includes construction costs, fees and expenses such as the architect or engineer, the fitness equipment, fixtures and furnishings, and even contingencies and inflations for unexpected additional costs. The operating cost projections for the new facilities are $144,000 per year and include personnel, utility, cost overhead, cleaning and maintenance cost, services and supplies, and insurance costs. The personnel costs include the staff necessary to have the facility open at its planned 7 days a week from 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Because we can leverage the existing infrastructure PPOA provides as an organization for staffing, insurance, personnel, and management, and utilize the existing structure of the PAC for its single point of entry, along with tie-ins to existing utilities and the physical structure itself, we have been able to drastically reduce the cost of this amenity when compared to the costs for a standalone or separately operated facility. As some of you may remember, the original majority vote for means of construction funding was the use of the Capital Asset Reserve Fund, as opposed to a special assessment increase for construction. However, upon further examination by the board, it was determined that the Capital Asset Reserve Fund would not present a viable option due to the risk of lowering the fund to unsafe and prohibited levels according to our bylaws. Doug Ward recently spoke to this in his columns article. In response to that decision, however, we have proposed an alternate capital fund financing plan that doesn't make use of the Capital Asset Reserve Fund at all for construction, and instead relies on a total proposed assessment increase of $6 and the use of the dedicated new asset capital fund that has recently become available with our milestone 3,001st member in July of this year. We plan on using at least $47,880 per year of this new dedicated fund, which is not the entire planned amount for this fund. The use of this fund and assessment is enough to fund a facility well over $1.8 million, and thus it gives us a realistic approach to fulfilling the original majority request of members, which was to use capital funds for construction as opposed to a large assessment increase for this facility. As a side note, since the question does come up often, it's important to mention that user fees were explored as an option. However, with the limited cash mint we have at Pecan, banks view membership-driven amenities as a very high, near unacceptable risk, and having membership fee-based amenities risks changing our tax-exempt status of the amenity as well, which could substantially increase the yearly financial burden on the community, since the addition of the tax value would have to be accounted for each year on top of the operational cost. In addition, since the new amenity would be physically attached to the existing PAC structure and there is a single point of entry, the PAC's tax status would also be at risk. Of course, this is all secondary to the fact that the preferred method of funding operations was not user fees and was an assessment increase. As always, in any financial planning, there is some risk, albeit we feel it's very limited in this case, since we have taken many precautions to ensure the financial health of Pecan continues to grow with a positive outlook. Since our use of the new asset capital fund is contingent on member growth, we have planned to only use a portion of that fund that is smaller than any notable historical trend or planned future outcome. And this amenity does not consume the entire fund, meaning it does not preclude the possibility of adding additional new amenities down the road. As you can see here, the projected outlook of this fund's availability goes out to 2025 in this chart here. The green line represents the amount of fund that we plan on using for this facility, or the minimum amount required, and everything above that is the additional amount that would be available to other amenities. We plan on dedicating the entire $6 assessment to an additional capital fund for the first 18 months. The assessment would go live in April if accepted, and this of course would be necessary since the assessment is covering construction costs as well as operation costs. This gives us an additional fund to cover unplanned dips in new members. However, it's important to note that the projected member growth you see here is the same growth projection that was used in the financial projections for the capital asset reserve study and the road and drainage study. So our use of the new fund is contingent on the same projections used to plan for the health of our capital reserve fund. Our loan will be for $1.3 million for 20 years at around 4.25% interest. In addition, we plan to pay back the loan over a 15-year schedule, even though it would be a 20-year note. We have already confirmed that there would be no early payback penalties, and this would build up yet an additional buffer capable of offsetting any unexpected dips in new planned member growth. The new amenity provides substantial health benefits for everyone living in our community. Local health companies have already expressed interest in free health and wellness education for members with this facility, as well as expressed interest in offering physical therapy services that make use of our new facility. Members will have another community asset that will allow them to stay within the safety and comfort of Pecan. Pecan is a remote community, and it takes valuable time for members to attend health facilities in neighboring towns. A local facility will save members time and may even attract members who might not currently be participating in a fitness membership due to a lack of local options within their community. Even for those who may not be interested in using the new proposed facility, market research shows that having an accessible top-of-the-line fitness center increases property values. The new facility would help alleviate current scheduling issues for the limited program space we currently have at the PAC. This, of course, affects all the users of the PAC, and not just those utilizing the new fitness center. With additional multi-purpose rooms, for example, more club meetings, events, and classes can be scheduled, affecting those who may attend the PAC. Now, before we move on to Q&A, just a few quick bits of information on how to interact with us going forward. We'll have brochures available at the rear table where the question and answer cards were. And you can contact the committee directly by emailing info@pecanawc.org. When you do, the entire committee receives your message, and we will work to answer it as quickly and accurately as possible. We will create presentation boards and be posting them out in the clubhouse and the PAC as well, so keep an eye out for those. And you can visit us on the web or from your desktop browser and even take a 360-degree virtual tour. We have 2 more town halls coming up as well, and they're going to be in January and February, and we'll be notifying everybody as soon as those are scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. If you have written questions and you'd like to present them yourself, you'll have that opportunity, or you can give them to the young lady and young man walking around. He's holding a big basket up, and he'll bring it up here to us, and we will read it for you. But do remember to add your name to it, please. We're going to give Jimmy just a moment to catch his breath before we start the questions. Or maybe he's leaving, I don't know. Okay. Thank you. And as I said earlier, we'll start with the written questions, and then you're more than welcome to come up to the microphone and ask your verbal questions. And again, please state your name before doing that. So the first one we're going to start with is from Darlene Smythe, and she's asked, will the assessment rise as time goes by or remain the same? If an increase is needed, will it go to a member vote or be an automatic increase? And will the new facility offer specialty classes such as Pilates, yoga, Zumba for no additional costs? Some of these questions, of course, we've already answered, but you wrote them, so we will go over them again quickly. So, Jimmy?
No, the assessment will not increase over time. Any assessment increase does actually require a membership vote in order to happen. Also, our assessment increase and proposed costs already include our expected inflation costs. So that is not going to happen. What was the second question, Lauren?
The second part? Will the facility offer specialty classes such as Pilates, yoga, Zumba at no additional cost?
Absolutely, there will be additional programs offered, and some of the additional programs may cost money depending on who they're offered and when they're offered by. We were not precluding anybody from coming in as far as we plan to offer any available services that they may to the community.
Okay, thank you. From Brian Rogers, are finance interest costs included in the $1.8 million anticipated expense? And using the 25 new member initiation fee, which total of $79,200 for FY 2017, how much is left for new amenities?
Yes, the financing costs are included. The new amenity availability never went below 5 additional members. Each membership contribution is $31.92 according to our current amount. That amount does raise over time. So at least that much would be available going forward according to our projected outlook. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that if a new amenity of a larger scale comes along, that is the only source of funding. In the past, we've had many other new amenities that were created, and we never had this fund available, and we were still able to receive the amenities that the community desired.
Thank you. George Sutton asked, is there additional parking planned?
Yes, there is additional parking planned, and they are actually already working on that right now for the PAC.
Okay. Annette Riggin, Child Care Center. Is that included? And a dry wet sauna.
Currently, no, that is not. However, if you feel that that is an important aspect, then please chime in and let us know.
Okay.
It's important to note that the designs that we actually showed are preliminary designs. We had to have designs developed in order to actually cost out the budget. But the designs may change slightly as we get to the design phase and involve an actual architect.
Okay. John Richard asked how much of the $6 dues is used to pay debt and operational expenses. Break out each.
We are actually not breaking out each of those fees. We're proposing a single $6 assessment increase. The assessment will be used for different portions of funding construction and operations at different times of the facility's existence. For example, during the first 18th month of the facility's inception, the entire assessment is going towards paying down or being dedicated towards a new fund to help pay down the balance of the actual loan and to pay the loan servicing fees and the draws from the contractors. So none of the operations can be pulled out from that fund as it is. Plus, the operations don't yet start until the facility's doors open. So we are proposing a single fund, or a single assessment increase of $6. It is not an assessment that is made up of multiple parts.
Okay. I don't have names on these, but I'll ask them. What are the hours of operation for the facility, and does budget include money for early open late night hours?
The current planned hours, as we had mentioned before, are 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week, including Wednesdays.
Okay. Another question. The majority of members surveyed said they do not want the fitness center. Why are you still pursuing this? And why not join up with De Cordova to work a deal with the Acton YMCA for a deal?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the majority of the members are actually in favor of this facility as opposed to those who are not. 47% of the respondents of the membership said that they were interested. We were able to draw, based on statistical analysis, that applied to the entire community with a margin of error of 3.9%. The number of members that were actually opposed to the facility was 39%. So even if we took a 3.9% or 4% margin in both directions, the majority of members still were in favor of the community. This new this new facility for the community.
Okay. Have you coordinated with the developer, and has he agreed to the project?
I'll have to actually defer that one to Bob Kamen in order to answer.
We own. Actually,
well, here.
He should be on.
Use Lorraine.
He was on.
Here.
we have not discussed this project with the developer.
Here, use the mic.
It is on. It's on.
So the question was, have we communicated with the developer? We have not. This is a PPOA project, and we anticipate doing it through the PPOA without the developer's involvement.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are all the questions that we've got some more. Okay.
He turned it on.
Thank you. Deanna, I can't pronounce your last name. Tebow. Okay. In our heated pool for the people who need water exercise. Indoor, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, can't read it. Indoor heated pool for those who need water exercise.
There currently is no planned additional pool for this new facility. The addition of a structure to cover the existing pool or to heat the existing pool, it would be a separate new amenity since that amenity already exists. It would be an alteration of that amenity. But there is no plans for adding a water-based element to the new facility.
Okay.
Since I have a mic, let me just mention that while there's general interest in an indoor aquatics area, that would increase the cost far beyond what we're projecting available to us. So that while some folks would like to see that, we just can't afford that yet.
Okay.
That does not mean that in the future, though, we can't have that as an option too.
Okay.
And I'd like to chime in too, because the indoor swimming facility was discussed in the planning stages when we were accepting the PAC lap pool, and it was looked at in depth. And we had a meeting with the construction company that built the PAC lap pool, and he said it would add about $1 million just to cover that and do that with all the requirements you need for HVAC, just to cover this one we have out here. That's why it was dead in the water at that time.
Oh.
Pardon the expression.
Okay.
And just excuse me, just to make sure y'all do know that our PAC pool is open from April 1 through November 1. So if you're brave or have a wetsuit, you can go through November.
Yeah, that's 8 months out of the year we have swimming available. So to add $1 million, to add 4 extra months, just didn't really seem to make a lot of sense.
Okay.
For a lot of people who use it for medical reasons, they need the heated pool.
Okay. Are there any Individuals who'd like to come up to the microphone to ask a question, we welcome your questions at this time. Thank you.
Hello, Jim Scroggins. I live on Prospect Hill. Y'all are proposing a $6 membership due increase to fund this project, correct? And you're saying that the first 6 months of it will be dedicated strictly for this fund that you have set up to help pay off the debt early at 15 years.
Actually, the first 18 months of the facility's construction, when we begin developing it, the fund will be redirected to a dedicated fund for purposes of paying off the construction draws as well as paying down the balance.
A slush fund. I know our current dues are pretty low. If y'all have compared them, they are really low. My only question is, after the 15 years is over with, like most governments that get your tax dollars, they don't want to let them go. After the 15-year due or loan comes due, are we going to get our $6 back?
The $6 is not only used for construction. It's actually used for construction and operations, and is being redirected at different times in order to be able to give the community a viable option for having the amenities. After the construction is complete, it will be used to pay back the loan for 20 years, and after that, it will also be used to fund the actual operation of the facility with its staff.
Less the construction costs.
It's not the construction cost. There's a single assessment increase of $6 that applies to both the initial construction as
and
well
long-term operations.
Correct.
All right.
Thank you.
In 15 years, I'll be 90, so I'm hoping that we have that problem.
I'm Lloyd Jones, and I asked a question about checking with the developer. We might ask Jim right now, since I saw him walk in. There is an issue possibly with the turnover agreement, and I'm not up to date on it, but it is something to consider.
Well, keep in mind that what we're actually here proposing for the community is the vote for the creation of this amenity in response to the community's request that Pecan make an amenity for us to use. That's what we're bringing forward today. If it's determined that the way that this is being presented to the community and the way that we're offering as an option to fund this is not viable for every individual that is necessary to make the amenity pass, then unfortunately it won't pass. But what we're here today to distribute information on is just the facts of why we're presenting the proposal as is.
Okay.
Thank you. I simply wanted to answer that question. Once upon a time, a long time ago, we asked the developer, well, let me back up even further. We're not allowed as an association to be in competition with the developer. So we cannot build a center that includes a grocery store. But we asked the developer if we, I'm sorry? And we cannot sell real estate as an HOA. However, we did approach the developer when this gym idea was spawned, since they have one, and it would be in competition because they'd lose most of their members. And the developer said he wouldn't like it, but he would approve it. Now, this was many years ago, once upon a time.
Thank you.
My name is Danny McDowell, and my presumption is that each and every one of the committee members are in favor of the proposal. And if that's so, I'd like to hear from each of you what concern perhaps that you had or area of interest that you had in the deliberation and the discussion, and how that concern met your satisfaction. What was it that you had a particular interest in and that you saw, yes, this would satisfy that concern? So you can just go down the line. Did that make sense? You know what?
Well, yeah, that does make sense.
Okay, so what is it about this entire project that you individually, as a committee member, found satisfaction in that, yes, this is a good idea because?
Well,
okay.
I'm actually a relatively new addition to this committee itself.
And I'll sit down.
And this plan has been in progress for over 5 years now. I was actually part of the Sports and Rec Committee, and at one of the meetings there was discussion of a way to help inform members of a particular message. I had areas of expertise that I could do in that job, and I knew that I could do it volunteering time and services to the community, so it wouldn't cost members additional money in order to accomplish that. I'm actually the one who did all the renderings, the presentation, the marketing materials, and the website, and I did all that at no cost. My interest in this process was helping the community. I'm not an active fitness user. I don't go to a particular fitness center now, and I haven't in a very long time. But I could see the value of this amenity to our community, and I had no problem volunteering my time to help.
Okay, I'll go second. I am a physical fitness person, have been all my life, and I spend a lot of time here at the PAC. I'm also very much aware, I'm sure you all are, of the need for health benefits to be physically active. I don't think you can pick up a magazine or a paper today where there is not an article about the health benefits of physical activity. We are aging. The majority of us who live in this community are seniors. I'm not saying seniors need it more than anyone else, but we can expand our healthy life if we stay active. Now, that doesn't mean you have to come and exercise in a facility, but it's important to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And that was my primary reason to support this facility.
It's not going in the direction of my question. My question is, what did you look at? Were you concerned about the cost? And if so, how did was that concern satisfied to you? Were you interested in the hours of operation? Were you interested in what amenities it had to offer? What was it that you took a look at and you said, I want to make certain that this project has X or Y or doesn't have Z or W? Not why did you get on the committee? But when you look at this proposal, I'd like to hear why you think it's a good proposal, not what it will do for us.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Okay.
I think that's a good question.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does.
Let me take a stab at it. Like Jimmy, I'm also new to the committee, probably about 7 or 8 months in. My background is in construction and architecture and design and master planning of projects. And one of my concerns was to make sure that, and relatively new to Pecan, just a little over 4 years, I wanted to make sure that any project of this scale was properly funded and properly goes through the right process through both the planning and also the execution. And everything I've seen on this committee's short term, as well as what I understand was done 2 or 3 years prior, is absolutely spot on with the way a project of this size becomes developed over time. Starting with a very solid concept. The plans that Jimmy has shared with the group are solid conceptual designs, which are more than sufficient to get reasonable budget projections at this early juncture. And then you get to the design phase and it can be refined and ultimately get into the construction mode. So that's the primary concern I had, and I'm very confident that that work has been done. Like Jimmy, I'm not a fitness guy, and quite honestly, I don't fully expect to utilize the fitness component. But I think it's a valuable asset and well worth the assessment from my perspective.
And just to amend my answer before, now that I understand more clearly what you're asking, one of my concerns was after being on the committee was when the board came back and pointed out the danger of using the capital asset reserve fund. The alternative was to use the other survey option at the time that had been offered, which was an assessment increase of $10. Now, I was concerned about that for the community as a whole because I didn't think that the community would be willing to bear that given that they didn't choose that option the first time. So if we had gone about what our only option was left off of the community, which was the original non-voted element, that it would have just been washed out with the vote. So we worked really hard to find the alternative strategy that we pointed out in the presentation that would make this viable for the community and still keep the original spirit of both of those answers in check. And I think we hopefully have accomplished that.
Okay, and I'm going to answer it in a different direction. I think the equipment will cover everybody. I think the equipment that they have set up, that they have come up with, will cover you whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100. There's something in there for everybody. I like that. I just had double knee replacement. I wish it was here right now. I would be in it, and I would be rehabbing right this minute. For $6 a month? $6? You show me one other fitness center, one other place you can go to for your entire family for $6 a month. The design is beautiful. The equipment covers everybody. And in my opinion, the price is right.
I was recruited to the committee by the then chairman of the Long Range Planning Committee, Ray Lewis. He asked me to join because he knew that I have a background in this particular area, and that is the development of health and fitness centers. As part of my career, I was a consultant in the design and operation of fitness facilities. And I was drawn to this project because I view us as a shared amenities community, so that if we live here, then every amenity that we have is available to us. And so the assessment part of our financing scheme is a very, very beneficial one for us. If we were basing our facility on a user fee, we would be chasing memberships for the financial health of the center. We have a limited market. We only have 3,000 members. We'll go up to 4,500. So for us to try and develop user fees as a way of financing it, it's really unfeasible. So an assessment of $6 or whatever the amount came out to be was really the only way to finance this project. So that's one part. The financing scheme fits in with us as a shared amenity. You live here, you get to use it. Long-range planning and the board looked around for people with not only with interest but with expertise in the area. And the original committee had individuals who really had expertise in resistance training and aerobic exercise and rehabilitation exercise. So we started out in an appropriate manner trying to develop a fitness facility for this community based on the most up-to-date planning. So that's why I was drawn to it. The financing scheme, the way we are a shared amenities community, and the fact that we have used the expertise available to us to develop this project. So I don't know if that answered the gentleman's question, but I think this is something that Pecan should do, and as a retired professional in this area, I think we've gone about it in the appropriate way.
Yeah, Bob, I like your idea. I do. I want to make that clear to start with, but we also need to understand that you've put out 2 financing proposals. You rejected one, you accepted the other. And in doing so, we've moved away from a bedrock principle that we have operated this HOA for a number of years, and that is we avoid long-term debt. That's like a paid-up life insurance policy for us. It's nice to have, but our books are clean. So when we take this into consideration, there may be a third option. And I know we kind of don't like this because we want this now, but possibly we need to wait. That's a third option until that new asset fund builds up and we can get away from going into long-term debt. And also, John, I appreciate your comment, but I would tell you that if you're, none of the Anthonys are here, are they? Get that agreement in writing. The worst thing that could happen is that we get started on this, and the next thing we find is a letter from their attorneys telling us to stop. So be careful with that. Right, John? Right.
Well, yes, absolutely. A third option is to wait. But remember, again, we are here because member activity actually drove the initiative to propose it under these particular financial strategies. We do have patterns before of taking out particular loans for funding various projects and paying them back. And it's with the same bank that we actually consulted to produce the information that we needed for the loan for this project as well. So this is not necessarily something new to Pecan as far as taking out a long-term debt and, of course, paying it back early, too, as we did in our prior endeavor.
Okay, I'm Hal Spotswood, and I would think the developer would be reasonably interested in this project as well because he has 120 lots across the street and he wants to sell them. I work here part-time at the PAC, and invariably many people, especially on the weekends, they're coming in, they're looking for a lot, they're looking for a home. The first question they ask is, where's the fitness center? I know it would increase property values. If you needed to sell your home, you would sell it quicker if we had a state-of-the-art facility like what you're talking about. Also, with the walking trail, walking path that we're going to have, the other day we had pickleball players and we had a walker and they almost had a fist fight. The pickleball hit the walker. We have basketball players when the people walk and the basketball bumps into the walker. So there's problems here using this facility for so many different things. And you know, when it rains or it's too hot, the walkers come into here to walk. 18 times is a mile. So there's lots of reasons for this facility, but for $6 a month, I just can't believe. I mean, I'm all for it. I work out in my garage with free weights, and I'm going to kill myself one of these days if I don't get some nice equipment to use and get out of my garage with a bench press on my neck. All right.
Thank you.
John Richmond, I have some questions about finance. You said on your slide you had $144,000 worth of operating costs, although you declined to answer my original question, how do you break that down? My little ads come to $4 versus $2, $4 for debt and $2 for operation expenses. The $44,000 comes into an expense of $12,000 a month. We have $18,000 worth of fees at the moment. That means we have $6,000 left, or $72,000, $720,000 a year. Okay. Now, $72,000. Okay. So what is my question is, it comes down to this: what's the interest rate on the loan, and what's the monthly payoff on this loan, and is that a guaranteed rate?
The interest rate on the loan is 4.25%.
Is how much?
4.25%.
Okay.
The monthly payment on the loan, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I believe that they were around $9,900 or so.
Yeah, about $10,000.
We actually consulted with members of the finance committee, with the board itself, and with the bank itself to ensure that the payments that we were required to make would be both serviceable for the loan as well as have appropriate collateral behind them. There is not a separate fee assessment proposal for construction versus operations. It is just a single proposal for $6 assessment. At different times of the project, we'll be using the entire amount for different purposes. If we were to break that up into any way, we would not be able to take those monies and put them to other purposes. So there is one fee for the entire project, which is the $6 assessment proposal.
I understand that's a great selling point. However, that the numbers don't quite add up here. If you have $12,000 a month in operating expenses, that's today. 5 years from now, they're going to be a lot more higher than that. But you only have about $6,000 a month coming in from the dues from the members that can be used for that. Because you got to pay off that note somehow, and that's at least $4 or more out of that $6 fee. Let me finish this way. it'd be a whole lot simpler to all of us to understand if you could break it down exactly how much of what is going where and when. And now I'll let you respond. Thank you.
Well, we'll make sure to break it down in a way that maybe will help you more on the website so that we can post that. We already have posted some of the information as well. The amount of money that's going to be used to pay back the loan over time is not only from the assessment, it's also going to be from the new asset capital fund. The reason that we don't have an estimate on how quickly it will be paid back is because it's up to the board's discretion at when they want to pay that back, if they want to pay it back sooner. And that is what they have done in the past with other long-term debts. They've paid them back sooner so that we can reduce our debt quicker. I hope that answers that.
Okay.
And one other thing, we can't project it, but we can anticipate that 3,000 members that we have will continue to increase, and everyone that comes in will increase the monthly amount to help offset any increases in operational costs. So as the membership raises, that $4 a month amount increases, and
$6.
Well, it's hard to quantify that.
The $6.
Right, that is a good point. Right now we are at 3,000 memberships. The numbers that you saw, as I said, we have conservatively estimated. We locked in the fee that we were using to project the rate at which we could pay back the loan at $31.92. However, that fee increases each year. In addition, that we're using 3,000 members for the projection of the payback of that loan over the next 20 years. But that loan will actually be paid off sooner, and the number, which means that we'll be paying less in interest, and the number of members that will be contributing to paying the assessment will also increase over time as well. So that was one of the methods we used to be conservative with our approach in determining the numbers for the budget.
Okay. Are there any other questions? No? Well, again, we want to thank you very much for coming tonight. We hope that we answered the questions that you might have had, that you'll go back and talk to your neighbors and remind them that there's another opportunity, 2 more opportunities, January and February, 2 more town halls.
Don't forget,
like to see you again.
On the table over there.
And we do have brochures that you're more than welcome to take on your way out. Again, thank you very much for coming.